Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
Hello, friends. This is your friendly neighborhood geekologist, Will Rose, and what you're about to listen to is a panel from the pop culture stage at Theology Beer Camp 2025 in St. Paul, Minnesota. I was there hanging out with TJ and Leah and Ryan and Kim and J. Patty and John Augustine and other fellow geekologists, and we had such a blast. So big thanks to Trip Fuller and Homebrew Christianity for allowing us to be a part of these conversations and discussions, and even allowing us to help curate what happens on the pop culture stage, formerly known as Geek Stage. And when you're listening to this episode and you ask yourself, really? This kind of thing happens at Theology Beer Camp? Yes, it does. So come hang out with us at the next one in 2026, October 8th through the 10th in Kansas City. Hop on over to theologybeercamp.com where you can buy your tickets. And in the meantime, enjoy this panel from Theology Beer Camp 2025. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pop culture stage. There we go. There we are. Clap your hands so they know we're real. I'm Will Rose. I am the host of Systematic Geekology, a podcast where we dive into the deeper things that we geek out on. And, this stage was called the Geek Stage, and then we renamed it Pop Culture Stage because we didn't want people to feel like, oh, I'm not necessarily a geek. I don't geek out on Star Wars or comic books or whatever, but really, we're all geekologists because everybody geeks out on something in pop culture. And so today we're going to do some geekology. We're all going to be geekologists, going deeper into those things that we geek out on. And today we're going to be geekologists around that incredible movie, Sinners. Who's seen it? All right, good, because there's going to be lots of spoilers today. And but I did hear someone say one time that sometimes spoilers help because it relaxes you, it disarms you, and so you're able to watch it more freely because you're not like caught up in expectations. And so even if you get something spoiled, that's okay. But if you're listening to this out there in land when it becomes a podcast, I recommend that you pause, go watch the movie, and then come back, and we'll be A-okay. So I'm going to turn it over to our panelists, let them kind of go down the line and introduce themselves, and just brief introduction, who you are, where's home base for you, what you teach, and then we'll dive into the movie. All right? Juan, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Will. I'm Juan Floyd-Thomas. I'm an associate professor of African American religious history at Vanderbilt Divinity School, and I also teach there in religious studies. Among other things, I do teach Black religion and popular culture, including race, religion, and film. So this is right down my alley.
Good morning. I'm Stacey Floyd-Thomas, and I've had some beer.
Wow.
Too early in the morning as a Baptist. I can get away with it because I'm saved, but you can't tell anybody that I did it. I am privileged to be here. I am the proud wife of this one, Juan Floyd-Thomas. I teach at Vanderbilt Divinity School where I'm the Carpenter Professor of Ethics and Society and the Chair of African American Studies. On this panel, though, this is what you need to know. Whenever Black people are in a space where there are a lot of white people, and we're together, you have to ask yourself, what are the Black people doing together at their table? So at this table, I am the soulmate of this one. I've been the fangirl of this one. I met her in word before I met her in flesh, but she looks younger than my own flesh, which means she's made a deal with the devil. We'll talk about that later.
We're going to talk about that.
Which means favor's not fair, and she must be a sinner for real. And the Baptists are low, and the Episcopalians are high. And Adam is my summer soul brother, where the space of Martha's Vineyard has given us sanctuary in a way the Academy has not.
Wow. Yeah.
So I am in a village and a space of love and longing that only the toast to the beer camp could have provided. So good morning.
Good morning.
Right.
All I need to say to that is amen.
Amen.
Amen and amen again. Oh, see, there you go. To say amen and amen and amen again. And the fact that as an Episcopalian, I'm saying amen out loud. The Baptist.
There's something about the Black church that transcends denomination.
There you go. And, you know, she's a Baptist and had beer, and she knows she ain't supposed to. And I'm an Episcopalian and didn't have any, and I know I ain't supposed to do that. So I have to catch up. But I am Kelly Brown Douglas. I am currently visiting professor of theology at Harvard School of Divinity and canon theologian at the Washington National Cathedral. Sins enough, and geeking out really on just this space with these three folks that I admire and whose work pushes me. And so I am the old one here, and it are these folks who are carrying forth a legacy that I am learning from. And so I am just really geeking out on being here with them, and I'm going to listen to what they got to say about sinners that I think we've all seen at least a dozen times.
Yeah, my name's Adam Clark. I'm a veteran of Beer Camp, and these are first timers. So,
Rookie.
Well, I know, the world hates DEI and affirmative action, but I promise to bring some Black people here.
That's why we're here. And that's why we're here.
And that's why we're here, because we're here.
So I've been advocating for a long time. I said, bring it back, and also because the nature of grassroots theological education has to change, right?
Yeah.
Like we get angry at people for not knowing progressive theological frameworks, but we keep them locked in the academy. So I'm really glad that you have some incredible thinkers up here who are able to actually put certain types of theological frameworks that are applicable and useful for people who are really serious about their faith and want to think deeply critical. So my name's Adam Clark. I'm a professor of theology at Xavier University. I'm the director of civic engagement there as well, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so let's geek out. So this movie, Sinner, set in 1932 Mississippi, it starts off as kind of how can these young twins create a space where they can have parties, where they can drink, where they can play music, where they can just geek out among themselves. And then about halfway through the movie, it turns into a vampire horror movie, which is layered in text with so many different things. And so the movie is named Sinners. And so, yes, there is drinking and gambling and sex and dancing and music outside the walls of the church. How dare you play music outside the walls of the church? But I want to ask you guys, so what is the sin? This movie is called Sinners, and we could get kind of caught up in the actions of people, but there's an overlayered kind of text of a system of sin. But anyway, so what if it's
White supremacy, Will.
okay? There you go.
White supremacy and its predatory and parasitic nature, as well as its false promises of salvation, and it's embodied in white vampires, right? And the hive mind, which is a way of talking about a false universal that erases difference, right? So white supremacy has to survive by sucking the blood of Black vitality out of bodies, right, in order to sustain itself and reproduce itself, right? So you have that as the and also in order to maintain itself, it also that people have to invite it in.
Invitation.
Yeah. There's a certain type of dynamic of there's an invitational point, and I think part of the parable of the movie is how the blues functions as a vehicle of resistance and affirmation of Black humanity, a kind of counter story within this that kind of flips the narrative of kind of confessional Christianity as devil music, right? Like in terms of that. So I think that's the sin. It's kind of a macro sin that actually functions as an idolatrous power and the sin is also something that only exists by consuming the bodies of others, the lives of others. And you see the wreckage and destruction throughout the movie.
Go for it, Juan.
I would just build on what Adam dropped. I mean, and sorry.
It's okay.
I mean, the blast radius from what Adam just says is still glowing red hot. But I think we have a dualistic mechanism at work here, and I think it's opinion by two fairly common or well-known phrases. That we're all sinners who've fallen short of the glory of God, but then we're also sinners saved by grace. And to that concern, I wrestle with the issue of what Coogler and the cast and crew were able to accomplish by placing agency, human moral choice, so much squarely in the mix of what's going on here, right? So if we wrestle with sin in terms of a rupture, not just between human and divine, but between humans and humans, right? And I think white supremacy is such a powerful and necessary means by which to examine sin, capital letters, SIN, but also the ways in which, right, no one is absolutely good or absolutely bad within this universe, but so many shades of moral gray inhabit the spaces in between. And for that juke joint to serve as a kind of proving ground, and in some cases the killing floor by which those decisions of life and death, of righteousness or wickedness are being played out, I think is it's epic.
Yeah. Kelly.
Yeah, I agree with all that has been said clearly, because what it reflects is that this movie is layered, and it's layered with this sort of the complexity of richness that's in this movie. It's complex. One of the things that I want to add to that, sort of taking it even away from centering whiteness and white supremacy, and it's there clearly, and it travels by night, and we see that. Is the richness of Black culture that is also reflected, right? And the ways in which, first of all, and I'll just drop these and then can say more. I know you all will have more to say about it. The ways in which, one, the blues and the church are in dialogue, in a dialectic relationship with one another. Then, of course, we see that come together and at the end, at the triple end. But and you know, that's to me the Tommy Dorsey moment. And so that or Thomas Dorsey, but they're always in this dialectic with each other. And if we see them as opposing each other, we don't understand the richness of what goes on in Black culture and how, in fact, indeed, both of those, the Black church is represented by the, what's the name now? I can't think of the young kid's father.
Preacher Boy Sammy.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sammy.
and then of course he also is the blues player. But both of those traditions saved and spoke to a poor Black community who's struggling for survival and affirmation. And if those traditions are put in opposition to one another, then it doesn't capture sort of the meaning of what's going on here. And when they are indeed placed in opposition to each other, which we have seen throughout Black faith history, it misses it misses the fact that they're both trying to answer to the same thing or respond to the same thing, to the same need, to the same struggle. And these are struggles of poor Black people, just thank you, Adam, just trying to make it. The other thing, so they're in this sort of dialectic with each other. The other thing, and this is, you have Ryan Coogler in conversation with, because he did this movie upon the research and the guidance of Dr. Yvonne Chereau. Right? This movie ain't possible within its richness. There you go.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the women.
If it wasn't for the women. Or if it wasn't for the Black women. And so let's not mention Ryan Coogler without mentioning Dr. Yvonne Chereau.
Yes.
Because Dr. Yvonne Chereau added the richness to the meaning of this movie. Because the other thing that is going on in this movie, of course, is what Dr. Ahmad Green calls sort of these underworld religions, right? And what it's pointing to is, again, the richness of Black religious culture, right? And so you have this voodoo, hoodoo, etc., that is there, always in dialogue with the wider Black faith tradition. And we know really in the Black faith tradition, it's never been, there's always been this, and this word now is sometimes used pejoratively, but this synchronization of tradition, right? That's Black. And here you have it. And so she's there bringing this in. It again is a part of a Black way of knowing the world in which you're trying to navigate and trying to navigate that world. And so the richness, I'm going to shut up now because I can say a lot more, they'll bring it out. But the richness, what I want to foreground, yes, it's about white supremacy. Yes,
Well, the sin is about white supremacy.
That's right.
Not the movie. The sin is about
white supremacy.
Right.
And it is parasitic, right? It is vampirish. I mean, the way they do. And they're in the richness of Black cultural tradition that is in this film. And I'm going to leave the historic part to the historian in terms of even the history that's captured in the Black struggle and all of the homages to that history. So I'll shut up there.
Stacey.
I'm just going to lean in here and say that if we were to talk about the blues, we would leave that to the genius 2.3.0 of James Cone, which is Kelly Brown Douglas. And this nerd geek pop expert who's a historian to my right, I think, like Adam, we know that the canvas of our existence is white supremacy. Which is why the blues had to emerge. And what we see happening in the midst of culture wars, right, is we're all bleeding. But since we're in Minneapolis, I want to say purple rains. And so I'm looking at Amy on the front row. Thank you for being in my big quarter, sister. And being a sister from another mother who's given me a little inspiration. And Prince says, when there's blood in the sky, red and blue equals purple. Purple rain pertains to the end of the world and being with the one you love and letting your faith and your God guide you. And so while Amy, on the one hand, in symbolism of putting on her white female body, right, which is whiteness bleeding as a woman, right? Purple rain in the context that we're in, and as no one can talk about being black is to be blue in America, like these two can. What Adam says is what are we doing here on the canvas of white supremacy, where the nation is trumping all of our individual stories to say what reigns supreme. Who is the God that we serve? And what do we love? Kelly nodded to that. We literally have to say, what are we serving? Are we, and we'll talk about this later, pitch or the keynote later. We're all going through altercations. Where are the altars where we're worshiping? Are we worshiping a God that transcends our limitations and will transport us and transform us to where we need to go? Or are we serving gods that serve us? And that really is what Sinners is about. You have a brother who's wearing red, right? Stacking it. I'm showing the 26 years. Stacking it. But as I'm branding these diamonds, generations of women have died. So my husband could say, for love of 25 years, a year late, here's your stack. Or it's a smoke. When everything's going up in flames, and the church wants us to say, let's consider this incense rather than burning flesh. Exactly. And that is why we don't need to take the show me your tag. Because you just cursed, I'm Baptist, I have beer, I can't see. Jeff said, damn, I didn't say it, I'm quoting him. That is why Martin Luther King, way before Jeremiah Wright said anything, said, while America may very well go to hell, from the pulpit from which you memorialize your mentor, James Cone, that we really need to understand what is the God that we are serving. And is it a what or is it a who? But as an emphasis, I would say how you are living it out reveals it. And so I think purple rains. I really think we are in a blues moment. Kelly and I are supposed to be somewhere else. And that's we commiserated this morning because there are people in DC who are talking negatively about us because they wanted us to be around where purple's reigning as womanist. And they're like, what are you doing? Oh, so y'all really rather be with a white dude. And I said, no, they just organized earlier. And they're paying us a lot less. But let's be very clear. But the issue is we're in different forms, in different bodies, same canvas. But what really is going to save us? Is salvation that which serves us, or is it that which saves us? On this canvas of white supremacy that is reigning supreme, where we're singing the blues and we're bleeding to death.
Right, yeah.
I want to lift up, especially in juxtaposition, right? We talked about the sin, but where is the salvation or the saving grace? And I think on the twin axes that each of us has touched on, blues and hoodoo, right? Within the movie, right? And so I think we can't, we do our, as much as I love Michael B.
Hoodoo differently. As Ephesus, hoodoo is WHOODOO. Dio.
Okay.
Right. So I mean that
Who do what you do? Okay. All right.
Really, and we talked about that yesterday. It's really interesting to be curious about other people's stories and buttering our daily bread with other people's pain. And as ethicists, it's really important that hoodoo is not the exoticism,
Okay.
The freaky stuff to other people, but it's about the agency or who are you and what are you doing? And if you can't say that, don't come to the party and don't open up your mouth.
So to that point, I would say that as much as I love and adore Michael B. Jordan's presentation of the twins, right, Smoke and Stack, right, we do ourselves a disservice if we ignore the centrality and the importance of Annie as the quote unquote hoodoo woman, right, and then also Preacher Boy Sammy as the blues man, right, even above and beyond Delta Slim, right. So to Annie. And I'm so eternally grateful for Kelly bringing Yvonne Chirot into this conversation. And if you want to do a deeper dive on what Chirot's insight was, pick up her book Black Magic on conjure and American religion, because in that text she's wrestling with in so many regards a kind of combination or crosstalk, if you will, pardon the pun, of between the works of folks like James Cone and her own mentor, Albert Rabbitoe, the late great historian and author of Slave Religion, and Charles Long, who hopefully, if you don't know, you need to know his masterwork, Significations, and trying to talk about, all right, what is this religion that we brought with us, right? To quote Delta Slim in the movie, right? Part of that is the blues, but hoodoo. And so I want to lift up just quickly a passage out of Rabbitoe's book early on in the text. If I were a betting man, I'd say it was around page 25 or 26, but don't hold me to it. He talks about this thing Kelly just referenced, syncretism. And he says that, okay, in the transition across the Atlantic, across the Middle Passage, right, when the Africans were now introduced to the Christian church, Catholicism, and they were dealing with these Catholic icons and saints, but then also bringing the gods of the old world with them, right? It was a strategic choice to mix the church house and the praise house, right? Because it's better to have two magics or two, spiritualities working for you than any of them working against you, right? At all points in time, then what you see with Annie, right, when she's confronting Smoke in her little shack, right? How you don't know that all the root I was taught and I've been working, I've been praying for you that you and your crazy brother would make it through this world and be in one piece, right? For people who are caught up in the power of white supremacy and all its destructive forces in modernity to yet and still survive and thrive, ain't nothing but tapping into supernatural powers, right? And so I think that's why Annie is so pivotal to the film. And then with the blues, and I just got to say this up front, as a Gen Xer, all right, any Gen X folks in the house, woo, lift it up while we still can. Okay. All right. Hopefully arthritis hasn't set in too fast. But the idea that, at least for me, the idea that the blues had fallen into, in many cases, either cliche or self-parody, right? It wasn't a lively or thriving music for my generation, right? And so to have a film that put blues in a space where it could be sacred, but it could also be sexy. It could also be dangerous, right? It could also be not just desirable in terms of commodification, but also for healing. That when, especially in that car ride with Stack and Delta Slim and Sammy, and they pass by the prison chain gang, and the idea that even there, the blues, in the midst of just clear, raw, uncut oppression, right? The blues had some cathartic, some somewhat healing or empowering essence to it, even in the midst of those spaces. So I'm thankful for nothing else that a reclamation and a redemption even of the blues, and we can dismiss it as the devil's music, but that there was even some healing or some hope within the blues. And I'll stop there.
And more on the blues. If you want to know more on the blues, you got to check out this book, Black Bodies in Black Church by Dr. Kelly Brown Douglas.
The blues slant. Right there.
I really want to say that. But what they're calling syncretism, I would probably frame it as multiple religious participation, right? Like, I think it does a good job of framing Black spirituality as this multiple belongings, where you see like the hoodoo, you see the Christian participation and blues as a distinctive religious tradition, right? And I think that's where Cone and Dr. Kelly Brown Douglas kind of continues with that, is revaluing the blues as not as something demonic or the devil music or something outside of church, but as a spiritual alternative, right? A vehicle for transcendence, right? Where the juke joint turns into a sanctuary, and you have like two churches, right? You have the kind of the official institutional church, but you also have this type of vehicle for transcendence as the juke joint, where the theological question is, how does one meet God? And you can meet God on multiple groundings and not just in like Christian liturgy, right? And you have, so it's like a recanonization of Black spirituality to kind of go outside of, and this is why Black theology becomes so important, because if you look at traditional Christian theology, you cannot properly understand that movie, right? You have to break open those categories and invent new categories. And what we talked about yesterday with how liberation tradition has broken open these type of traditional categories and kind of either dilated, expanded, or even innovated new categories for theological understanding. And this movie is a great example of how they could be remade by looking at the blues tradition and understanding that not just as a aesthetic, but as a theological tradition. Right. But,
yeah, let me say a couple things briefly, building on what was said. But first, let me say, when people continue to reference you and reference your books, for which I am humbled, but that also means you're old.
If you don't stop, that means you had something worth noting.
There you go. There you go.
Don't. I told you she made deals with the devil.
They good deals, though. But the juke joint and the church, and you're bringing up Albert Rabbitoe. And Albert Rabbitoe's book, Slave Religion, The Invisible Institution.
Nothing like that's a book worth getting.
Yeah. I mean, that's the book that reframed for many in the academy and gave a platform for many of us to really begin to talk in different ways about Black faith. What I want to point out, though, one of the things that as we think about the juke joint and as we think about the Black church, even as we see it in this movie, and it to me is reflective of the history of the relationship in many ways between the juke joint and the Black church. The juke joint becomes the invisible institution to the Black church that the invisible institution was to the white church in antebellum period. Because what the invisible institution did for Black people during slavery, right, was saying, no, that ain't God. God and Jesus more than that. And so what we want to say is that they kept Christianity alive, right? It's not an alternative. The alternative was whatever the slaveholder folks were doing. That wasn't Christianity. And so if we want to think even sort of symbolically, as we talked about, or I talked about yesterday, Black people keeping the vision for democracy alive in their struggles, the invisible institution kept the vision of Christianity alive. And in this regard, the juke joint that is always sort of in the hush harbors, right? The juke joint's always somewhere in the backwoods, as it was in this film. And so it's in the hush harbors. The juke joint is responding to the Black church, and it is keeping that Black faith tradition and Christianity alive, because it is opening up and saying, in as much as you aren't speaking to the raw underside the folks who live on the raw underside of blackness, these poor black, these blues people, right? And the blues emerged out of work songs. So it's no sort of accident that we see those things. And so the juke joint is essential to the black faith tradition. The juke joint is essential to black theology. Let me say one more thing, and then I'm going to... No. So that's that dialectic, you know, and it is about the blues tradition, and that's why Thomas, that scene at the end becomes so important, because without it, they got to talk to each other, because it is the richness of the black faith tradition in all of its multiple belongings, and it keeps black church folks. It critiques that narrative of respectability that was emerging in the black church that Gay Rod Wilmore called the de-radicalization of the black church. If you keep singing the blues, then you can keep real black faith alive and speaking to the blues class of the blues people. The other thing I want to say, and as much as, and then I really am going to shut up. I'm Episcopalian, and we don't talk a lot, but you get around Baptists, you got to talk.
You got a word in edgewise, okay?
Even if only to make sense.
But I tell you, they bring it out of me. But the supernatural.
Yeah.
It's not, it is that and not, because what it does from the very beginning in this film with the twins and et cetera, and is that we see the realities of an African religious tradition and an African sensibility, particularly West African traditions, where there is no distinction between the sacred and the secular, and there is no break between the living and the dead, right? Life is circular. Wow. Albert Rabbitoe talks about that as well.
Yes, most definitely.
Right? And so that the dead right, are always engaging in life with the living. They always have an impact on the living. And so our task is, how do we relate to and hear those voices? They're always there. They're always present. And so the black, quote unquote, to use this language, sort of this bifurcated, the black dead in this film aren't sucking life like the white dead. They're giving life. Whiteness, as you said, continues to suck life. And so what happens is, in as much as you were in tune with the ancestors, because there's multiple belongings, right? This African religious heritage. And so, and they are, even the baby, the twins are always there. You know, the father, they're always, the dead has an impact on the life of the living. In that last scene, they come back. Right? And so, and it's a different reality. It's a different reality. They aren't vampirish. The black dead, correct me if I'm wrong, the black dead in this movie aren't vampires. And they're giving life.
The ones that weren't bit. The ones with the bit were. Yeah. The ones that invited them in.
Right.
Yeah.
But that, so to me, again, it's like, oh, wow, and that's Yvonne Sherrill.
All over,
this perfect relationship, because it is pointing to the way in which, and we know that's black culture. You pay homage to the ancestors are there.
Yeah.
Always there. And so go ahead.
The ancestors are always there. No, I think that's the thing. And I'm looking at everybody in the audience, because this audience would exist nowhere else to talk about this movie.
True. Yep.
And so, to Kelly's point, we are a hush harbor.
Ooh. Beer Camp's a hush harbor.
It's going to be a hashtag.
So what's the Theology Beer Camp? Now, from our sensibilities, even Black Episcopalian, this is sin.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't curse and drink beer and eat popcorn. The
Decadent.
Well, Episcopalians,
you have a charge. Guess what? The vampires. What are we doing? I asked my husband last night. I said, it's not going to end till 6. Aren't they having church in the morning? How are they going to get things together for church? Right? Because timing matters. The beer camp is an invisible institution. It is a hush harbor. It is a brush arbor. We are risking privilege and protection by assembling ourselves together, right? Under the cloisters of institutions that are zesty. Right? Yeah, I got my Vanderbilt sister in the back, and she's wearing camo. Right? I mean, I want you to think about that. But what people might, so you're like, oh, we're interested in what the black people are saying about, sinners, which is kind of sexy. And black people are sexy, but we want the beer camp is a hush harbor. And we're all sinners, saved by not grace, but in this story, Annie and Mary.
Yeah, I forget about Mary, yeah.
Now, what you don't understand about the movie, how many people saw the movie?
Hands.
Oh, watch it again. Because what you don't understand, and it takes people maybe of Adam's hue, and not the rest of us to the east of blackness. What do black people do when black children are born and you don't know who the parent? You look at their ears. Remick. Y'all know who Remick is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The white guy.
Yeah, vampire. Yeah.
He's biracial. He's passing. And the only reason you know Mary's passing is why? Because she's sexy.
Yeah.
And she wants a black man. And they've come to consensus that passing was happening. When do you know Remick is passing?
I just learned that. I thought he was Irish.
And what do you know about Irish people? But besides documents of normative...
Colonized.
Where the saying used to be, if every Irishman would hang a nigger and be killed for it. I don't want anybody who's passing for white in here ever to say the N-word, no matter who you're quoting. But the saying that Herstein and Murray were able to capture, that is if every Irishman could hang a nigger, could kill a nigger and be hung for it, then the Western world and the white race would be pure.
That was the first for beer camp, y'all.
Yeah.
And that's why beer is appropriate. Now, what you think
The new
that?
communion. Okay.
Why can we drink beer and not Jack or Hennessy? Let the black people feel, welcome. But why is that? Why is that? Uncle Nearest, something. Remick, do your research. That's why we're scholars. And Mary. And what does Mary? Why is she named Mary? Right? We know this is not a biographical documentary. This is signification. Go back. That's start with Charles Long. Don't start with Henry Linsky. But unless you're going to do the DNA. Right? I mean, there's a long history there. Remick is literally passing as white. Irish people pass as white in the imagination of the Western world.
And they became white, right?
They became white. In the same ways, Jews have to decide beyond Passover what race and religion means. Right? So what am I saying there? And you only asked one question.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew it.
Okay.
I knew that was going to happen.
Okay. Who is the whitest person that we all love the most based on our confessions, hint, hint, and our training? That North African called Augustine. Who defines sin. See how Baptists, we take a long road, but we can come back. Sin is disordered loves. And so when Reddick has Sonny Boy in the water, and Sonny Boy is the only one he was coming for. Sammy Boy. Thank you, sis. He says in the water, he says, oh, which is much like the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. Right? Well, you remember when Grandma was on her knees, our Father who art in heaven, he got down and the Green Goblin came in and said, on earth as it is in heaven. Like, I'm not afraid of your little prayers. And Reddick said, oh, you love those prayers too. Oh, they brought comfort to my people too. If it wasn't for Remick, they would not have known the truth of what really was going down. They would not have known the plan that was going to make the future history again, which was, you think you have a juke joint. You think this is a beer camp. Go back to church tomorrow. Go back to your tenured positions tomorrow. And you'll see. The hallucination was the freedom you thought you had achieved. The person who passed the most in history, in the reality, Augustine. That North Africaner, and we've taken North Africa out of Africa. We made Augustine white the same way we made Jesus white.
Right.
And why did we do that? Because our loves have been disordered. Sinners is not a movie just for Black people. It's a movie that speaks to what is red, white, and blue and Black about our soul. When we major in the minor chords of life and we miss what's literally menacing us.
And I think,
You're never going to get to know.
I know.
I was going to
There's only one more question I have. I only have one more.
well, come on, you better bring it, brother.
No, Stacey, I appreciate you pointing out to me, like Stack and Smoke, the red and the blue making purple, and here we are in Minnesota and talking about purple
Give
rain.
that to Amy.
I know, I beautiful. But when we talk about transcendence and the blurring of the living and the dead, let's talk about the scene.
Yeah.
The music, which blends, which every time I think about it, I get goosebumps. What did that invoke? What, cook.
That's conjure. That's conjure. I mean, Sammy's guitar was an instrument of conjure, which is a way of talking about, I guess in beer camp language, like a theopoesis. Right, like a kind of God making, a kind of God shaping in terms of that.
Robert Taylor at the crossroads.
Absolutely.
It's Robert Taylor
go ahead.
at the crossroads. And Robert Taylor is bringing worlds into existence and bringing them into dialogue with each other in ways that they had not been brought into dialogue and in connection with each other before. And it didn't scare Robert Taylor, but it scared everybody else.
Everybody else.
Sammy is Robert. Yeah, so anyway, go ahead.
No, you were going. I was just saying.
But the crossroads, that's even where that African
That's Papa Legba. That's Papa Legba.
Okay.
In terms of
That's Legba.
right there.
Explain what Legba is.
Right. That's the Haitian luau. For some people,
and the
Westerners translate that as demonic. That's why you have all this Satan in it. But really, that's a Haitian Voodoo luau, which is like kind of this spiritual power that talks about being at the crossroads. It's a messenger between humans and the divine, and more of a portal and a gateway to the transcendent. Yes. Right, and that's what that represented. That's why I was talking about
is that gateway,
right?
And that's why he comes after Sam. Sammy's that gateway. He's Robert Taylor. He's at the crossroads. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
I couldn't resist.
But what we also have to think about here, and I'm loving the crosstalk literally that's going on here at the panel, right? The idea of, and I'm going to push back a little bit in terms of why I don't think we can or should abandon the notion of syncretized religions, but also wrestling with the colonized religion. When the movie starts and the voiceover, Annie's voiceover to the movie is talking about the Irish, the indigenous, and the African situation with that musicality as an access point for eternity, right? And being able to cross between the living and the dead, and the past, the present, and the future, right? Kairos and Chronos melding in that power, right? So when we get to the scene, right, the idea that in that space, and when suddenly Sammy is just letting rip, right?
What's the name of the song? I lied.
I lied to you. I lied to you, right? And he's giving this over in honor and loving affection to his father, who he has a complicated relationship with. So first and foremost, right? Anybody who thinks that the movie's anti-God or anti-Jesus, no, I think Coogler and company are anti-religious in terms of religious authority, hegemony, orthodoxy that wants to make religion conform to the ways and the wishes and I think the sinfulness of this world.
Institutionalized.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And I'm refuting and rejecting this thing by Max Mueller. Okay, this is a hot take, of course, but that all religions are great that have a great book at the center of them. No, when you're dealing with hoodoo, when you're dealing with the blues, right? It's an unscripted religion, right? It's a source of power that doesn't have to bend or bow down to scriptural interpretation or alliteration. But let me get to my point, right? The idea that at this crossroads moment, right, and Sammy is able to bring a convergence where you see, the gangbangers crip walking, and you can see, somebody from Parliament Funkadelic, wailing away on a guitar, and you can see the DJ on the turntables, and you can see the praise dancers. Oh, come on. It's and even the roof is on fire. We don't need no water.
Snapshot of good times. Right?
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a visual cue here too, to the point that Stacey and Kelly have also brought to the table, where for me, I'm also seeing flashbacks to The Color Purple, the original, the good one, from the 1980s.
You just say that. You don't get to say
I don't have permission.
Even if it's true.
Okay. Don't speak the truth. Okay. But I mean, because if we think about this, right, Sammy, okay, this might seem like another controversial hot take, and maybe I'm not authorized to say it, but
we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. Keep me posted. That Sammy, in some ways, being an inversion of Suge Avery, and when Sammy returns to the church house versus Suge, if you remember in that classic scene when she's crossing over to the church house, Suge is submitting and surrendering to her preacher father, whereas Sammy is saying, "No, I'm gonna go my own way. I'm gonna hold on to these blues."
No, actually,
come on now.
Go there. We won't muddle things. But Suge dies.
Yeah.
Right, because Suge actually becomes a vampire in Sinners, so she doesn't become trans. She is the woman who was cheating with Sammy when she was married
Suge Avery.
Suge, if you're gonna put them together,
okay, meld.
she
All right.
is the one who died as a vampire.
And the other,
she's not
thing,
Sammy.
right? But the only other thing I wanted to say, since we talk about Suge, is that in that movie, Suge, in so many respects, reflects in Color Purple, reflects what many blues women did.
All right,
which is give up their life and blur sin. Right, literally disorder.
They had to go back.
So you can be rightfully ordered and redeemed.
Right.
Okay.
Which is always the price that women pay.
Right.
So the purple in this story.
Juan.
I'm here. I'm here.
Up the door.
I'm riding.
Is that women? I'm like, whether no matter who we're talking about, the women lose to the hysteria and the history of the men in the narrative. So, but this is not the woman that's account of sinners. This is just sinners. The women get sacrificed.
Literally.
Yeah.
Sacrificed. The women were the most valuable and the most transformed. Think about it. And they got the shortest end of the stick. Because men were stacking and smoking.
Wow.
So whether we're talking about Asian women, whether we're talking about root women, whether we're talking about biracial women, whether we're talking about privileged women, they lose. They become the body broken on the altar of sacrifice. Not for whiteness, but a patriarchy, a male gods that must serve men.
Yeah, and so and to your point, yes.
But You opened that door.
Let's walk on in together. Let's walk through it together.
And to your point, if we're going to talk about, and yes, and if we're going to talk about Sammy in relationship to Suge and to...
Because Sammy doesn't even have a mama. How about that?
Right. And she's...
His mama's there but silent.
Is there but silent. And to put marrow on the bone, or meat on the bones of what you just said, Stacey, Sammy was able, in the way in which blues women and Suge wasn't able to do, he was able to be able to bring those two together and not give up himself.
And all the women died.
Right, because he had his maleness. And so he was able to...
And blessing. Right. Not just maleness.
Of his daddy. And blues women didn't get that in a male-centered black church that was playing into the models of masculinity and playing into the models of evangelical Protestant Puritanism that invaded that church. And so the women in that blues women didn't have a place to stand.
All right.
So what actually happened was many of them had to give up the blues in order to become a part of the church. And men didn't.
And their blues were their bodies that bled on the altar.
And the blues
of sacrifice
out of their bodies. So anyway, so since you said that, I just want to protect Suge.
Okay. Different part. Okay.
I want to be clear. And I like Sammy.
Yeah.
And, but I just want to be clear.
Okay. Don't muddy the waters.
Don't muddy the waters.
No love. Okay, all right.
Because someone like Bessie Smith ended up dying versus
Ma Rainey. Okay, let's go.
Ma Rainey has to give up her blues. So let's just be clear. The other thing, it's just an aside, not to the historical moments, and you talked about the Asian women. One of the women and the Asians in this film, and one of the things that people don't know historically is the strong Asian, particularly Chinese community that was down there at that time.
Which was a beautiful
in the Delta.
Historical educational fact.
That's right.
That we will not get in the classroom.
There was a strong Chinese community in the Delta, in the Mississippi Delta, at the turn of the century.
In the same way there's a Korean and Vietnamese presence.
That's right.
In the African American community.
And what they represented in that film was an actual historical representation, and particularly in terms of the way in which the stores
that's a
operated
of commerce and capital.
Right.
Also the natives, the
Choctaw.
That's discernment. Now the Choctaw,
they had enough sense.
Leave them alone.
that was discernment. That was spiritual.
Yeah.
One was commerce and capital based on day-to-day community. And the other one was transcendent. When you're talking about the Choctaw, it was the prophetic. The Choctaw were, this is our land.
Right.
From New York Island. Right? I mean, so they're like, we know this. This is our land. We know their ways. And we're giving a warning.
Yeah.
So one was about discernment. And the other one was about knowing how to make deliberate choices in community. So there was a way that Choctaw were not a part of the day-to-day reality, but they were the same prophetic spiritual realm. Whereas the Asians in the market, who literally loved, they were more excited, or just more excited, to see at least smoke come back into town.
That's right.
Than any black people were. Right? They realized we have a romanticized understanding of who you were, a communal understanding, and we're in solidarity. And the intergenerational and gender dynamics were different. Right? The wife was saying, listen, he ain't bringing no money in, you keep him out. And the daughter was saying something sus. And we don't know if the daughter was saying something sus because of her own amelioration or her own black racism. But there's a difference, and there's a fine line between love and hate, and between the spirit and the secular, which is what Sinners is about. Again, the disordered loves. What is that fine line of where the God we serve and the God who serves us, and how much do we embody that, or must the other embody that for us to believe it's real? So I think that is a class, gender, racial and ethnic balance, which I think that we're seeing here this weekend.
You got something else to say?
Yes, you did it. No, I knew 100%. Like a couple questions, you guys going to do that. But I don't know if we want to take some thoughts from out there. If there's a point that resonated with you or a question you want to ask.
You got a hand in the back.
So forgive you if I'm hearing this wrong, but it sounds to me that your guys are saying that the blues are the groaning of the community in this movie, this culture. I want to know, what groaning do you hear today? What does that sound like today? What specifically music? I'm looking for more music to listen to, but
Yeah, just to repeat for the pod. So you're saying, if I'm repeating correctly, the blues represents the groaning in this particular movie. And if we're going to apply that to what we're experiencing today, what are some of the groanings that you hear or experience out in the world that could become your own blues song or being resonated or played out into the world?
What we're grappling with here, and this is what I was wrestling with in terms of, and once again, lovingly pushing back on this notion about syncretized religion. What the blues, what hip hop, what reggaeton, right? You know, come on down, Bad Bunny, we're waiting for you. Right? We're going to be hearing, especially, one of the other courses I teach at Vanderbilt is, it's been a minute, but race, religion, and protest music. And one of the things that I've at least landed on, Stacey and I also teach a course on the moral philosophy of Black popular culture. So this is all in the mix. Hard times make for great music, right? And I'm thinking, if the past is prologue, we're about to witness an unveiling and an unleashing of musics that we haven't imagined yet, right? But because the issue is that in this authoritarian age, the artist is going to have to do what we have not been able to do for ourselves. Reimagine a world, remake a world. And this goes back to something that Kelly was saying on yesterday. Open the space of the imaginary and make it possible. All right. This might be a little bit off book, but I'm going to go there. We're within the 70th anniversary of the start of the Montgomery bus boycott. And the kickoff sermon that Dr. King gives at Holt Street Baptist Church on December 5th, 1955, he offers up this statement, there comes a time, right? I'm not going to do a King impersonation, not even if you paid me. But part of his statement there is, there comes a time when, people are done with oppression, done with this. If we're wrong, right? And then he goes into this refrain, if we are wrong, then the Constitution is a lie, right? And then if we were wrong, Jesus was nothing more than a utopian dreamer, right? And that line always kind of, digs a little sharp blade in me, right? Because the idea that when did utopia become a bad or dirty word? Even, coming off the lips of Dr. King, right? The man who is, known globally for I Have a Dream. But the idea of what he was trying to do via negativa is trying to say, in the world out there, now I'm going to mix King with Toni Morrison. Out there, Baby Suggs' sermon, right? Over there, they don't love this flesh. Out there, they don't love, your unnoosed neck, right? To imagine a realm of possibility where your humanity is not a mockery, a joke, or a slander, but is actually God's gift to the world. And that is what Black religion, in an not just a syncretized fashion, because let's think about this, right? Nowhere in the Bible that I've read, cover to cover and everything in between, is there a magical bunny that poops jelly beans or hard-boiled painted eggs. And nowhere in that Bible is there a jolly fat man that slides down your chimney and gives you gifts because you didn't deserve them. Nowhere in that Bible is there a St. Patrick that turned beer green. I mean, right? Many of our greatest traditions and our faith practices are syncretized, but it's only a slander or a mockery when it's attached to Black bodies and Black hope and Black freedom. So part of what we wrestle with about syncretism or the syncretized is really mainstream or mainline religions wanting a sanitized faith.
Domesticated.
Yeah, tame. right? Yeah. Neutered, some people might say. We got to have a wild, unruly faith, and art helps us get to that.
Yeah. So can I? Yeah.
I would just add Kendrick Lamar,
Yay!
Tupac.
Maybe Cardi on a good day.
That first album, man.
And Juan, because I'm gonna say somebody else, but yes, Kendrick. I love Kendrick. Lamar. And the thing about art and Black art, but in particular in this instance in which we're speaking, there has always been an arts movement that has prefigured in many ways and opened up, as I call it, the moral imaginary. Art as, some have called it art as protest. James Weldon Johnson talked about art as that which would enable us to talk about race through art. And so there's always been, whether we're talking about the new Negro movement that led to the Harlem Renaissance, whether we're talking about the Black arts movement of the 1960s, and whether we're talking about the arts movement that emerges, prefigures Black Lives Matter and moves through it and defines it in so many. Because art allows us to transcend the finite language of words, and it allows us. I always say the artist has like that third eye, that allows us to capture worlds that we can otherwise not capture. That's why folks like Morrison, Baldwin, Alvin Ailey, oh my God. If you haven't seen the tribute to Judith Jamison, you got to see it, stream it. Alvin Ailey and Dance, Cry. Remember Cry? Remember Reflect? These people are taking you to places that in seeing worlds you can't see. So art, art is significant, and there has always been, for every Black movement toward progress, there's always been a Black arts movement. And so I say that we're sitting here talking about sinners. Where do you see? Would you see it? These people are making these movies. They're making sinners. We can say things in art form. It's like the safe space, and maybe ICE won't come after us, at least not today. So art allows you to do that. And Black artists, the blues, the spirituals, they're art. Them people were saying in the blues and art, they couldn't just go up to somebody white and say it, and Black people didn't understand it anyway when they sang it. And so, but art has always been that vehicle. I mean that. It's been that space, and it's also been that place to open us up to otherwise possibilities. The dance, etc. There was one last point, and when you get old, you forget the point. Even when
when you're walking into the pantry with the bowl,
right?
You don't know any flour.
But the artist, and I'd say that I would bring to the table, and I want to say something about her. This last concert is what Beyonce does in concert. If you saw Cowboy Carter, that concert, anyone see the Cowboy Carter concert? What she had moving through that was like, oh my God, this woman, even I saw Renaissance and thought, that was great. And it was. But when I saw Cowboy Carter, she has the ancestors talking all through the thing. She's showing
as a non-scholar,
as a non-clergy. She is showing on the screen. She has this film running through, showing these Black artists, these Black country artists, let alone if you listen to what she's singing. And let alone that but everyone, this Black woman doing country, and the white folks, why is she taking over country? Honey, y'all took over country from us.
Right.
That's what the blues is.
That's what the blues is.
Help us.
Let's be real. And Beyonce,
Great.
anything that's original music form in this country came from us. And that's true. And James Weldon Johnson made that clear a long time ago.
Okay.
And so Beyonce, to me, that's why power doesn't like these people. Right. That's why power that we have in place don't like Kendrick Lamar. That's why they gonna pick on Beyonce. That's why they don't like Beyonce. That's why I liked Bad Bunny before Bad Bunny became
Bad Bunny
All right.
I like, because I listen, I will admit that I ride Peloton all the time.
Okay.
Bad Bunny is popular on Peloton, so I was first introduced.
He's a whiz at Zumba too. Okay.
I was introduced to Bad Bunny
Okay.
on Peloton.
All
And
right.
I'm like, well, this dude is bad.
He's Bad Bunny. He's a Bad Bunny.
We'd be remiss if we don't mention Prince in Minneapolis.
Hello.
I already did that. Amy
No,
did that.
I'm talking about specifically for this about the artist, especially Sign of the Times.
Well, because
when he talks about
Prince saw things before. That's right.
Yo.
right. No,
Respect.
no. Stacey did mention. I want to acknowledge that
Amy,
Stacey.
Amy.
Right. But
See how the women get written out of his stuff.
Oh my gosh. Not counting the women and children. Okay. Here we go.
Hold him. Right, quoted him. Not in karaoke.
no, I'm reconnected it to this specific question. That was a different question. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm gonna take over for
yeah.
you.
I'm just
Paisley
saying-
Park. All right.
He went to Ohio on his own.
That's
I'm
right.
from Ohio. I can talk about it. But yeah, who knew you were going to get a sermon on your question?
Yeah, great.
Love it. We're out of time, but I can just say that this is everything I wanted in this.
Oh my God.
Can I, since we have 2 minutes and I'm a Baptist, I just want to make a little homage, first of all, to this group and really to Tripp Fuller,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who God works in mysterious ways, and we never know the vessel that we are. I mean, whether we're talking about Tripp, whether we're talking about Amy, whether we're talking about Lee, who is the most proud member of the NAACP up in here in his white form, or any of these people on this panel,
Amen.
as a mother representing mothers, as part of, as this panel comes this far by faith, which means we've come this far by family, and it's our family who's given us our faith. I want to leave for you all as a benediction that's become an assembly, a Hush Harbor family. What I gave to my daughter in a letter, my daughter who's on the front row, who has been vexed and victimized by being here on her fall break with her parents. And she's ashamed to realize her father is the geek and the nerd that he is, but her mother's yet cool. She wants to be a film writer. She wants to be a screenwriter. And she said, and if that doesn't work out, maybe on the side I'll teach just to pay the bills. And I said, I want you to remember that. That is what we do. We teach the. And I told her at the beginning of her 11th grade year these words. She doesn't think I pay attention because she and her father geek out with popular culture more than I do. And I listed a lot of movies, a lot of comics, and the last one I gave her was Sinners. I said, remember Sinners, which was a movie that showed you how to remember the strides towards freedom, personal joy, and cultural pride. That there are dynamics that are always being threatened by the illusions and dangers of unchecked power, whether through financial or supernatural means. Don't fall into the trap, Lillian, of blurring reality by living in other people's false promises and projections that become prisons inhabited by dreamlike sequences and supernatural elements that blur the lines between a reality and imagination, challenging you to question the nature of truth, perception, lies, or legacies. Keep the God that was birthed in you. Don't invite the devils in to confuse you, confound you, kiss you, or bite you. Hold fast to keeping your faith and forming your gifts to bring humanity, harmony, and hope to that which is already divine within you. Don't let stacking up wealth or the smoke of ambiguity compromise the depth of your faith, of your beauty, and the affirmation of your health and your holy human experience. My love to my daughter is a gift that I reveal to you all. We already have it. Don't stack it up, because you won't be able to tap into it. And please don't let it go up in smoke.
All right.
Man.
Hey. Oh man.
Thank you all so much for your time listening to this episode. If you want to help sponsor our show, but you can't quite do the membership thing, commit to that once a month payment, good news, you can leave a donation on our Fourth Wall website. You also can get some free content over there. So if you don't have the money for the membership, but you still want to hear some of the extras and bonuses we do over on Fourth Wall, there's an option for that. If you want to support the show without that commitment every month, again, you can donate over there. Every little bit helps. Our show has a lot of needs when it comes to equipment, when it comes to going to some of the events we want to go to, advertising, getting the word out about our show. It takes a lot, and we really appreciate each and every person who's able to help us do it, even if it's something free, just like the free membership or leaving a rate and review on our site. Every little bit helps. Your time listening to this helps, and we appreciate all of you. We're so proud of the community we formed over at Systematic Ecology, and we're very happy and we're proud that you're a part of it. Thank you so much for your time and for being a part of this community.
Hi, friends. It's Laura here, and I just wanted to say thank you for listening to our show. Systematic Ecology is a part of a larger podcast network called the Anazao Podcast Network. Dummy for Theology is Joshua Noel's show discussing different theological topics from various perspectives and attempting to give people more questions than answers. My Seminary Life is Brandon Knight's show. It started as him going through what he was learning in seminary, and after he graduated, he's been doing independent studies and has a lot of fun series like on hermeneutics, Bonhoeffer Summer, and worship. And then Friday Night Frights is a monthly show with Christian Ashley and Joe Day. They have a vote on the Systematic Ecology Facebook group to choose a topic each month and discuss everything from cryptos to ghosts to aliens to serial killers and more. So we hope you'll give it a listen, and thanks for being part of what we're putting out there.